I have with me today Kelly Overton with Experitech. A lot of people are always asking me if, with all this oil business coming into town, you know, if that's really helped our business and stuff. Well, Kelly is one of our new customers, and we've been able to supply their company with a lot of vehicles, and we appreciate that. And he's tells me what they do. I think I'm going to learn more today, but he's it's some kind of a computerization of oil wells that, you know, we just end up drilling an oil well and it flowing out, but I think he has a little more to do with it than that. Kelly is a relative of Merlin Overton. Everybody always asks that. And his dad was a cousin of Merlin's. And he lives in Woodward, but he stays in Kiowa most of the time. Experitech has an office, he can probably tell you, but out on the west side of Kiowa, there's used to be an implement dealership there, and they have a lot of vehicles and employees there in Kiowa. So if you welcome Kelly, he'll give us a talk.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to speak with you. Some of you may know already, but I am a famous resident of Alva because the hospital I was born in is now obviously a museum. I was born in Alva. Mom and Dad were going to school here. My roots are pretty deep in Alva. My grandmother on Dad's side graduated from Alva. My dad graduated from Alva, and my mother. I graduated from Alva, and now my daughter has graduated from Alva. So Alva's been a hometown for us for a long time. Dad was Pond Creek, Mom was from Woodward, but Alva was a great educational opportunity for us. And I lived here until I was 3 years old. Then we moved to Woodward for a couple of years, and then we moved about as far out of Oklahoma as you can. I grew up in Boise City and Keys, Oklahoma, so it's not the end of the world, but you can't dangerous to see it from there. So let me roll up this PowerPoint. I'm trying not to do death by PowerPoint because I hate it, but maybe a few pictures will help a little. Okay, Experitech no equal. Basically, we that's a little bit of our mantra. Experitech basically is a process automation company. We provide valves, regulators, computers, anything that goes into a process control. Now, we have 11 offices. We stretch from Memphis, Tennessee to the Colorado line. Liberal, Kansas is our farthest west office. We go into Nebraska, part of Oklahoma. And out of these 11 offices, we deal with many various industries. We deal with food and beverage, pharmaceutical, agrochemical. You know, basically if something flows through a pipe, we deal with it, and more from the control standpoint. Here, obviously, it's oil and gas. I mean, that is a large part of our business. And there's some core values that Experitech has. I know many of you have them in your same organization. Excellence, innovation, attitude, collaboration, accountability, integrity, growth, and community. Those are things that we not only you know, put words on the board, we try to live those things as well. We try to be a very professional organization. Obviously out here, the Mississippi line, you're sitting right smack in the middle of it. Everybody has enjoyed probably some prosperity from it, whether you're a landowner that has mineral interests or whether you're a business such as Kirk. I mean, we bought 4 or 5 vehicles, and then hopefully we'll buy more as we continue to grow. But what is the Mississippi line, and why is it successful now? Horizontal drilling has really changed the game. If you think about this, the Mississippi line, and I hope there's nobody here in the oil and gas business because I'm not an oil and gas expert, but I'll speak to it as best I can. The Mississippi lime zone runs basically from 10 to 150 feet thick. Okay, so they have drilled into the Mississippi with these vertical wells for many, many, many years. And they've always had a lot of problems with water, but there's always been oil and gas in there associated with it. But if you think about vertical drilling through a 10-foot pay zone or a 150-foot pay zone, that's all the oil and stuff you're going to get from what it can gather into that short pay zone. Horizontal drilling now allows us to, and it still is rocket science to me, where you can get into that 10-foot zone and do that for 2,000 feet. Well, now your pay zone is now 2,000 feet long instead of 10 to 150 foot long. Obviously, it's a much better payoff. They are more expensive to drill by 2 to 4 times, but the increase in production is tremendous. One of the problems, obviously, with the Mississippi is there is a lot of water. The cut is roughly, if you get 10% oil to 90% water, you've got a heck of oil. Probably the average is more than 4 or 5%. So if they're producing 4,000 barrels of liquids per day, 5% of that may be oil, the rest of it is water. So what are you going to do with all that water? Obviously, they have to get rid of that. So part of the slowness in growth is the development of the infrastructure to get rid of the water, you know, get pipelines to get the oil out, to get the natural gas out. You can truck oil, but it's pretty hard to truck natural gas. So there's been some holdups on infrastructure, but all those things are getting better all the time. So horizontal drilling has really changed the game here in Mississippi. So what does Experitech do in particular here? Basically, we do multiple facets. The first thing we do is, this is one of our what we call Fisher Rocks remote operation controllers. When you buy that as a customer, you literally buy all those little pieces, all those little cards and radios and term strips. We have a facility in Kiowa. It's the old Ford New Holland facility on the far west side of town that we rented. We take all of those parts for the customer, and according to his specifications, we put those together. This one looks at about 40 different points out on a location. So we put those together, we take them out, install them. You'll notice the big solar panel up here, so we install the power for them. You can see the batteries down in here. Most of these are solar applications. If we have AC on site, again, another infrastructure holdup is getting AC power to those sites to run their pumps and such. But up until that time, we'll run on solar from our standpoint because it's very low powered. Then we'll actually go out to from the wellhead to the tanks to the production equipment where the heater treater is. We'll put instrumentation on it. Now, how did we operate wells in the past? Basically, we had a pumper that drove out to the well every day, looked at the tank level, looked at the wellhead pressure, made sure the heater treater was lit, all of those things to make it operate every day. Well, today we can actually put instrumentation on there for level transmitters, temperature transmitters, flow transmitters, anything that a pumper would typically go and look at. We can put something on to measure that, and we bring all of that back into here, and these radios communicate that information back to a central location. Okay, so that central location now becomes a 24/7 operation that looks at it and says, whoa, this tank over here is fixing to spill. Okay, I need to get somebody out there and take care of that. We send an alarm. If somebody can't get there because muddy roads, snowstorm, whatever, we built all the logic into this unit to say, before that tank spills, let's shut the wellhead off down here. Because we would rather stop production, obviously, than have a spill and have a... Oil is one thing, oil sits on top of the ground. Salt water is a tremendously bad thing because salt water goes down. And the remediation on salt water is very, very expensive. So, environmental, safety, not particularly these wells, some in western Kansas and down in Oklahoma have high H2S. If you get a good whiff of H2S, you probably won't get another whiff for the rest of your life. I mean, it'll kill you. So we can provide some safeties. So environmental safety and then production and optimization. The best way to run a well is to take this off and put a couple, 3 guys out there turning valves and watch it every day. Nobody will ever replace a human. That's the best way to operate. Since we can't do that, number one, from cost standpoint, human standpoint, etc., let's put something out there that can operate and optimize. It can look at it well and say, if I tweak it just a little bit, I can get a little bit more out of it. That's another thing that we offer is, increased production as well as increased safety and environmental. I feel like I'm preaching here. Is there any questions so far? I love to answer questions if you have them. I'm going to pop through a lot of these really quick. Where we started was what we called the Oklahoma State Well Project. We had 3 guys, 3 trucks. We worked with Chesapeake to find what they wanted. We literally go out, we put in the conduit, the wire, the instruments, the controller itself, the communications. We put it all in. The very first well took us a week and a half with 3 guys. We have improved that. They liked what we did. We said, okay, let's continue to do that. We've reduced that from 1.5 weeks to 2.5 days. Okay, and that was part of our innovation. We had to do that by hiring people. We had to do that by streamlining our processes. You know, that assembly that I mentioned in Kiowa, we're much faster at that. We have processes in place to keep that going very, very quickly now. So now we design mobile workshops. Basically, we have trailers and trucks that we bought from Kirk to take a crew of 5 guys out there. They all know their specific tasks. We have the specific tools. Boom, they get it done. We walk on. Wireless technologies, and again, we changed our labor force from all the way from what we call apprentice level guys just screwing together electrical pipe all the way to high level technicians that do the programming and the optimization. The other thing is our collaboration. We've worked with the customer to understand his requirements and make sure that we're meeting them. And the only thing that's constant in the oil and gas industry is change. I mean, it changes on a daily basis. You have a great plan for the week, and that works until Tuesday when it changes, you know, and then you make a new plan and it changes on Wednesday. So we understand that. We try to meet their needs. Another, you know, inside of Experitech was our sales and our service were kind of 2 separate entities within Experitech at one time. We've truly married those together. I, as the sales channel, understand what the requirements are, work with and communicate to our service organization to make sure that we're meeting the customer's needs. And the other thing about the oil and gas business is it's very fast. You know, everything happens, you know, very quickly as compared to a refinery. A refinery plans to shut down, literally plans for 2 years before they, you know, turn that thing off and actually do their work. If these guys had to wait 2 years before they could make a move, you know, it would kill the industry. Attitude, that was one of the things that we really needed to work on, the services manager and myself. Experitech service people had an attitude of 8 to 5. You know, we show up at 8 and we're leaving the door by 5. With what we did, the people that we hired, the structure that we set in place, many of these guys are showing up at 4 o'clock in the morning in the summer, load up their stuff, get out there at the site. They're there as soon as daylight comes on to work. And they're, you know, shut down at 2 or 3 o'clock back when it's getting 114 degrees in the summer, you know, so we really changed the paradigm of how we operate. We do want to be accountable. See it, own it, solve it, do it. It's just, again, another mantra that we use. We see a problem. Once you see a problem, you're the person that owns the problem. Once you figure out a way to solve it, then do it, implement it. Well, just a quick example was we figured out very quickly that we didn't have the right people in place. We had to hire locally. We couldn't go out and hire the type of technicians that we needed. So we literally you know, went to online recruiting. We've got a training system that hopefully we'll try to do it once a week, but it ends up being once a month just because we're so busy. But try to bring these guys up to a standard of excellence that Experitech expects and our customer wants and needs. So, so we are accountable. Integrity. You know, a lot of times we've worked 15-hour plus days. We actually had some guys out on location for 21 hours, which is, you know, not typical in our type of industry. Your Halliburtons, your people like that do the fracking, many times they are on location for 48 hours straight. It's because that's the nature of their type of business. It's not typical for us, but our guys are willing to do that. Our honesty and responsibility. We've got great relationships with our customers. They trust us as a partner and not just a vendor. That's a very big step ethical. When you're moving at the rate we move, we make mistakes. Okay, that happens. It's unfortunate, but we own up to it. We deal with it. We take care of it, and we go on down the road. You know, we don't try to cover it, sweep it under the rug. Growth. Here's really what this is a presentation we actually did internally, so I'm going through some of these kind of quickly. But on the growth side, this is a picture of our Kiowa office, the old Ford New Holland building on the west side of Kiowa. We found out, again, rather quickly, we couldn't hire locally the type of technicians and experience that we needed. So we literally built almost a vo-tech center. We train on, instrumentation. We train on wiring and how that should be done. We train on the programming of the computer, even to the point of paperwork. We train on how paperwork is used. I'll get to another point here, I think maybe the next slide. Well, let's speak to community right quick. We are very involved in the community, all the way from Larry Tejan, who is our president in St. Louis at our corporate office, down to ourselves. Communities, unbelievably important to us. We just had, one particular deal where a lady at Chesapeake had stage 4 cancer. We contributed significantly. That 17.4 wasn't our contribution, but we contributed significantly to that. We have at least 16 employees from the local area. Some live here in Alva. Some live in Kiowa. Pretty much a pool around 30 miles within Kiowa is where many of our employees come from. And actually, that 16 is probably too low. It's probably more like close to 30. Again, this is an old slide. April 12th, we had 30 employees. This is a little newer. I believe we have 48 employees now. We are the largest employer in Kiowa, as far as I know. And we're not making everybody rich, but we're making a very good living. Okay? And we hope that what we're providing to our employees also spreads to you, as business owners here in Alva and the surrounding area. It's just a real quick picture of Trent Long, who's one of our crew leaders. You can see that we'll work in the mud, the muck, and the mire. The only thing that really shuts us down is lightning or really severe weather. The other would actually be lighting. If we don't have lights, we try to work during the daylight hours. The summer, that's long. Winter, that's short. So, but you can see just different aspects of where we're actually wiring and putting those devices in. Another picture of our typical 5-man crew that's out on site and installing those instruments. In Kiowa, we have, sales myself. We have a services manager, Pete Wright. We have an enclosure builder down here. This is kind of our assembly area where we take all those parts and put them together. We have Kim Reese, who is our office administrator, a warehouse administrator. So we've got a number of jobs literally in the office in Kiowa to keep us support structure for the guys in the field. How's that for a quick song and dance? Hopefully that was long enough for you, but I just really want to leave it open for questions because a lot of you are probably familiar with the area.
Okay, you're involved in all sections of drilling clear through production?
Basically, ours starts once drilling is completed and they start to put the pad in. We have to have tanks, pipelines, heater treaters. We have to have stuff to put our instrumentation on, so we're not involved on the drilling side. There are companies that do automation on the drilling side, but we've never gotten into that. It's all from the production end on.
You work for Chesapeake and Sand Ridge and
Chesapeake is a big, right. Chesapeake is our #1 customer here in the area. We're working on Sand Ridge. We just opened the account on Sand Ridge. Woolsey Petroleum is one that we're working with. Shell in the Anthony area. We're working with One Oak. I'm trying to think some others that you might recognize. Those are the big ones in the area.
I think one time you mentioned to me that because I assumed all this stuff was done by satellite or something, communication, but you mentioned I think everything's done by cell phone.
Right now, everything is done by, pardon?
Do you have any trouble getting service out to some of these wells?
Definitely, definitely. We are, Chesapeake has made the selection and some of our other customers to utilize the cell phone infrastructure because it's already there. They are trying to go back and put up their own radio networks because they're more dependable. One of the problems we've had is somewhere between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock every morning, cell phone towers either reset or kind of communicate, reconfigure, I'm not sure what, but we have a lot of communication failures between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. So communications is a big piece of the infrastructure that's going to get more and more transferred over to radio systems.
The technology you mentioned, it leads me to believe that it's primarily for the oil and the gas. Do you do anything with the salt water?
Yes, definitely. We're looking at the saltwater pipeline, and I didn't want to go through every bit and piece, but basically, as the saltwater leaves location, we're looking at the tank that it's coming from, we're looking at the pipeline that it's going through, and there's automation on the other end to make sure that it's receiving. So, and they are constantly working on how do I detect a leak, you know, how do I prevent a spill. So all of those things, is everything perfect? No. You know, I can tell you right now, all companies don't have it perfect, but I can't tell you this much. All companies are focusing on that. Some have better technologies, some are ahead of the curve, but that is a major concern is saltwater pipelines.
Who makes the automation equipment? Anybody we've heard of?
Probably. You ever heard of Emerson? Emerson televisions, Emerson stereos. Emerson's a don't quote me on this, an $8 billion a year company. Emerson is our principal manufacturer that we represent. All the Emerson products, which is in their process control division, we are the sole sales channel for them. So the Emerson products, Rosemont, you may have heard of, Fisher Controls, you may have heard of. Those are the items that we sell that are manufactured by Emerson.
What kind of, maybe a personal question, but I mean, what kind of money does it cost to put your equipment on a well?
As much as we can get. A typical site for Chesapeake, and I would ask that this kind of stay confidential, but Chesapeake will spend, and we don't sell all this, I'm thinking all the instruments and everything else, $125,000 to $175,000. Pretty significant investment. Other companies
per location.
Per location, exactly. And that's not taking in the infrastructure cost of the SCADA system that's receiving all this information and the people that are looking at it at a corporate office somewhere like Oklahoma City for Chesapeake. Others may automate more in the $25,000 to $30,000. Kind of depends on how much protection they want, how much control that they want. But,
Do you ever have any trouble with theft of locations?
not yet.
Not yet?
Typical things that are stolen are batteries, especially when fishing season starts and somebody needs a trolling motor for the battery. There's a lot of copper out there. You know, we put some safeguards in place to help minimize copper theft. We have not seen it yet. That could be the data that shows up. You know. Most people don't go and steal instruments and the flow computers and things, control computers they put out there, because what are they going to do with it? You know, number one, they don't know how to operate it. Number two, there's not really a margin for it. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate your time. I hope that was helpful. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. So I hope that was helpful, and you know, anytime that I can answer any questions afterwards or anything that we do to help, we appreciate. Glad to be a part of the community. Thank you.